Looks like it's going, and I may have to go just a bit, just in case you try to ask me a question. I need to go up here for a second, but you're live now, so I'll let you just start. At your leisure here.
Great. Well, everybody, welcome to the Android lesson of today. And it's very important to know about some of the wonderful aspects your Android phone comes with. Great features, and some of the features you may not know about. Others you may have used quite a bit. For instance, there is an app that comes with Google called Drive, and some of you may have actually used this many times. When it came out, it was revolutionary. It actually gave you a spreadsheet and a document and a presentation program for free that you didn't have to buy Microsoft Word at the time. It was very exciting. You could just access and create a spreadsheet anytime you wanted to. But what was really amazing was that you could collaborate, and Google Drive would allow you to have others sign into your spreadsheet if you wanted. So let's say you had a club or a garden club, and you had the treasurer of the club, and you could see them filling out the monthly numbers, and you could be putting in other information. You could chat with them. So it was true collaboration. This was quite a while back. A lot of us use Google Drive for other reasons than this kind of work setting. And one of the most important ways that we use Google Drive is if we have a really large file. And that makes it really hard to send through email. And sometimes if you have the right email program, it will say, should we download it? And that sometimes will work, and sometimes it doesn't. So you can upload Google Drive. It's free to anybody who has a Gmail account or a Google account, and it allows you, it comes with 15 gigabytes. It's tremendous amount of storage in the cloud, and you can upload your files there. So for instance, if you did a beautiful PowerPoint presentation and you wanted to get it to somebody, your email may say, this is too large of a file. So instead, you upload it to your Google Drive. How do you get to Google Drive? Well, of course, on your phone, you can access all your apps. And you may notice there's one that's called Google, as you can see. And those are the apps that come with Google. And when I tap it, you will see the distinctive Google Drive symbol, and it has a notification for me, and it says Drive. So once you tap Drive, it will show you all the files and folders that you have uploaded before. For instance, I run a book club. So sometimes people can't make the book club, and they don't want to miss what we all talk about every month. So I will record our Zoom session, but it's really giant. So I will actually upload, as you see, into a folder where it says book club. And the greatest thing about it is you can say get link. For instance, I will be happy to provide any kind of handout about what I'm talking about today if you can contact Chris and give him the email address. But the basic process is you tap on the new icon and it says upload a file. So it's already on your computer. Once it's uploaded, you press the right mouse button on the actual file that you see. You'll get a big menu. If you have a Mac, you can do control click with your mouse, and that brings up a menu. Bottom line is, one of the items says get link. So if you click or tap get link, it will let you copy a link and you make it accessible to anyone who gets that link. What that means is when someone gets an email, there'll be a link in there from you that says, here's the minutes from the book club, and they can tap on it or click on it, and it will download to their computer. No more worries about, is it too big for email, or there was a failure when I tried to send it using the email's preferred program. So this is one of the best ways to use Drive. But did you know that you can scan a document using Google Drive too? Pretty soon it's going to just clean your house for you. That's what I'm thinking. I'm joking about that. But if you go to Google Drive, as you see it here, there is a plus sign on the bottom. So when I tap this plus sign, I can create a new folder. And one of the ones that you see is scan. Now remember, upload would be how you would upload your file from the phone. If you recorded something, you would also do it on the computer. It would say new when you press the plus sign. So it's a little different from the phone and the computer. But the bottom line is, if you see where it says scan, it's an exciting moment. When I tap scan, what I get is, it tells me to actually take a picture. It has a white dot on the screen, and it tells me to take a picture. When I take a picture, what you will see is little blue dots. I'll see if I can get this up for us now so that you can see the little blue dots. Let's say I will take a picture of something. Okay. So now that I've taken a picture of something, let's say the window outside, it says retry or okay. Now remember, you're doing this on a piece of paper. Usually when you're scanning a piece of paper. In fact, I'm going to do retry so I can show you what it's like on the piece of paper. So I'm going to hit retry, and I have the piece of paper here. So I have created a piece of paper, but it cut off the paper. When you take a picture of something, that is not the same as scanning. Scanning allows you to do legal size, and you're not limited. So notice, I'm going to accept this for now by hitting OK, because I'm trying to scan a piece of paper. But you'll notice it brings me to another screen, and some of you may have used some of these icons before, but do you see the crop? It looks like a little easel. When I tap the crop, a very exciting moment happens. You get these blue handles. Well, I don't want just the picture. I want much more. So I'm taking each handle with my finger, and I'm moving the handles, and I'm making it much larger so that it gets the whole paper. See how the blue handles are at the top? So therefore, once I'm done, of course, I'm going to press done. After I press done, I'm going to save it. Where's it going to save? It's going to save to your special place that's called Drive. It lets me actually name it at the top. So I'm going to just call it paper, or maybe I'll call it ABC so it'll be alphabetized. ABC paper scan. Okay, and you see it goes to my Drive, as you can see. So I'm going to hit save, and when I hit save, it says your one file is being loaded. It went away real quick, but it said it's being loaded. And therefore, it's going to be under the A's. Now I have a lot of numbers, but do you see where it says ABC paper scan? So I have just, and it makes a PDF of it too, and I think that's important too. PDFs, if you probably have worked with them before, it stands for Portable Document Format. And what that means is they developed this many years ago, and it really helped when people were doing their taxes. For instance, we used to have printers. Everybody's printer when they printed, it looked totally different. Whatever was printed looked totally different. Well, that's not going to work for the tax forms. Everything has to be the exact form. Everything has to look the same. So they said, how can we laminate, and that's just an expression I'm using, how can we seal a document so no one can go in and make changes and no printer will print it differently than it was originally conceived. So they came up with this portable document format, which we know as PDF. If I do a document in Microsoft Word, a contract, do I want to send it to the person who's going to sign it in Word format? No, because they could make changes I don't even notice, and then I end up signing it. So it's very, very important to be able to change my Word file to a PDF. And just for a little information, you may say, how do I change it to a PDF? I've just done an important letter in Word and I don't want anyone messing with it. The way and the secret of it is print. If you're on a computer, you just say File, Print, and you'll see Save to PDF is one of the choices. This is time-honored way of making a PDF. So what you've just done is you've scanned a document, and maybe it's something from a law firm. You can scan it into your phone using Drive, and I think that's yet another wonderful way of using Google Drive. So Google has many, many exciting features and very, very important to know about. There are a couple of other features that I want to talk about today, and but we've learned a little bit about Google Drive. Some of us are going more out and about recently, and so I want to talk about another app called Google Maps, which you may have used quite a bit for a very long time. Once again, I'm going to my Google icons, and you're going to see that Google Maps is there under Maps. When I go to Google Maps, it actually will show where I am in Houston at this moment. And as you know, this is the GPS, and it is a blue dot. The blue dot is where I am right now. As I'm driving, obviously the blue dot will change with every new road that I pass. In fact, there's a really very good app out there you might look into. That's for, I know it's for the iPhone and maybe for Android, called iExit, and it tells you every exit, what's at the next exit, what types of foods. It's not just like fast food. It'll say Luigi's Italian restaurant or car repair, dealership. So you really can know what's behind each exit when you're on a road trip. But when you're on a road trip, nothing's more important than having GPS. And when we start going out and shopping again and going to places, we're going to find ourselves in crowded parking lots, and we're going to find ourselves at even in malls again in the future. We're going to need to know where we parked. Let's say you're going out and camping. You may have taken a nice walk away from your campsite, and now you can't find your way back. So all you need to do is press on the blue dot with your finger. And when you press on the blue dot, you're going to actually get a menu. And the menu will say, save park space. So you would tap that, and you'll notice you will get a little flag there. It's many times it's called a pin. And then you can get directions, walking directions at the bottom to get back to it. So that's an important thing to know, how to have walking directions back to your car. And the secret is just to press on the blue dot and save your parking space. You can unpin it very easily by pressing again. So that's really important to save where you've parked, because at the end of the day, you may not be able to find the car and get directions to it. So these are really important apps to know. Now, I want to go over some more of the basics that in case that you never got those. You may be doing very complicated things, and you will notice I have a Samsung phone, and on the bottom, the icons are different on different phones. But basically, the middle button allows you, if you just tap it, to get back to your home screen. And you also have something that sometimes looks different with arrows, but on mine, it has 3 lines. When you tap on that, it shows you the current running apps. Now, a lot of people, so you can, apps don't close. You see, I have the Maps and Drive. I'm still showing Drive. It's very important to realize when you're doing something on your phone and you get back to your main screen, it's still running in the background, and it can start freezing if you don't close your apps. On the other hand, a lot of people like to jump between applications. Suppose you're doing 2 different things. You can just use these 3 lines or arrows, however it looks on your phone, to pop between different ones. Let's say you're reading an article and yet you're having to message somebody at the same time. So you're actually doing texting with a friend, and you're sitting there, it's their turn to return the text because you're having a conversation, but you also want to catch this article. So you would just go back and just tap on one of these, and now you're in it. And then you would hit the button again and tap on a different one. Now you're in it. So you can do, multitasking that way, but most of us are going to use close all. The close all allows us to not have running applications in the background that use up our memory and can cause freezing. So I think that's really important to know as the basics. We also have this greater than, less than type sign, actually less than, and you can see that usually means back, go back to the screen before. So that's very helpful also if you've accidentally gone too far forward. And that's one of the important things. Another I wanted to tell you about is if you swipe down from the very top, you're going to actually get something that's called quick settings. Okay, and it's going to actually show you at the very, very top things like the airplane mode and the flashlight. Very, very important for you to know. Very quick way to get flashlight. And these are quick settings. And if you'll notice there's a little line. Do you see this big blue area right here? Right above it is a tiny little line. If you press down on that, you'll see a lot more quick settings. I pressed and I moved it down. So I have elongated the original quick setting. So these are all the things that Android has put in to see maybe these are shortcuts, and they put them in for you to use as shortcuts. So that's very, very helpful. And of course, I can press the flashlight and it comes on. And then I can tap it again and turn it off, but it has do not disturb. Another one is blue light filter that actually in the evening, if you use your phone and you have all that blue light, it may be hard to sleep because it starts to reduce the melatonin available. Therefore, when you turn it to blue light filter, it's hard to tell maybe, but the screen has gotten kind of a nicer rosy color rather than this harsh white that we normally have. You can do power mode if you're running low on your power, so it will let it last longer till you can get to an outlet, sorry. And you also have scan QR code. This is the quick reader code. Some of you may have used this before. More and more restaurants are using this. I don't know if you've noticed, if you've traveled, but you will see that sometimes you don't have a menu anymore at a restaurant. What you actually have is there's a big square in the middle of the table that just looks like gibberish, or I'm going to try to show you what it looks like in a minute. I have a book which is 100 plus iPhone, iPad tricks you can do right now, and I'm completing the Android 100 plus tricks. So you can look out for that, and it's a very exciting moment for all of us to be able to get tricks. But this is an example of a QR code. If you point your phone at this and scan this code, it will take you actually to my website. But if you're a restaurant, it will take people to the menu. So it's a touchless menu now in many restaurants where not everybody's handling different menus, and then you have the next group come in. It's very, very important technology, and you can use your phone. You have the menu, you can look at it, go up and down. You can sometimes even order from their menu. You don't even have to deal with the waiter. So the world is changing, or has changed a lot. You can swipe back up to when it's a quarter screen with just a few, and you can just actually swipe from the bottom to get back to your screen. So when do you use quick settings? If you need a flashlight immediately, you should use the quick settings key. And you just pull down from the top and you will see the flashlight comes up. Now there's something else that's important called widgets. What's the difference between the icons that are on quick settings and the widgets? Well, quick settings are things like they do one thing, like flashlight, off, on type thing. Widgets actually can be added to your screen. They also do one thing, but they have much more of a program, much more of an app behind them. For instance, you see, I have magnifying glass, and I also have something called My Drive. That's a pretty exciting moment. This My Drive brings you to Google Drive. So how did we do Google Drive? Earlier, we went to the Google Apps, and then we looked for the telltale Drive icon. But sometimes you want something on your home screen. You got to scan something quickly. You would just absolutely tap My Drive, and it's ready to scan. Actually, you will see it's ready to scan. So, because it comes up with it's a scanning icon. But how did I get these two icons on the screen? You may say, well, look, she probably just brought up this menu, but it's not on there because those are quick setting icons, and they do just one thing, and they're all scattered up there. But what I'm telling you about is something called widgets, which are an actual piece of an app. So the way we get widgets, it's very strange, but you're just going to press in the blankness of your screen. You're not touching anything. You're just touching a blank area, and you'll notice this comes up. It actually says widgets. Widgets are pre-prepared, prefabricated apps of things you want to do. So when I tap widgets, here are some things they've done for me already. There's a whole list. Now, I can go through them. I see Apple Music. So even on here, you could have Apple Music. I see clock. That's a widget. So that, believe me, these will just sit on your screen. Contacts. So this is a way that you can get the most often used icons. I go to the next one. Finance. You can bring up Yahoo Finance and many other kinds of programs. Magnifier and maps, you see. So you can get things. I see Netflix. What I do though is I go to the top where it says search. So for instance, if I search for drive scan, okay, I started to type in drive scan, there it is. To put a widget on your desktop like magnifier or drive scan is you just hold it down. When you hold it down and move it. So if you hold it down and you move it, what happens? See, you see what I'm doing? It's under my finger and it gets on the desktop. Now I have two. So you've found out what widgets are. You've accessed widgets by pressing on it unoccupied area of your desktop, home screen actually. And you can search by name because magnifier. Now it's on most phones, so it's important to know that. The hard thing about Android is many of the phones offers the same things, but in different menus and different ways. Some come with the magnifier, like this one, the Samsung A11. Others don't. So you may have to go and look for a magnifier app, but you should try to see what widgets have been prepared for your phone the way I explained it. And you can also see what your quick settings are so that you too can have a flashlight and a magnifying glass. So this is very, very important to be able to use your phone the way you want to. Now, when I tap magnifier, of course, you will see that it magnifies things. It mostly magnifies things that are on a piece of paper or, words that you want to use. So I think that's very, very helpful to know how to do this. These are all basics that come with your phone. Now, you will notice on the very bottom, the home button, or sometimes it looks like a home, like a little house. Sometimes it's a square, and in this case, it looks just like this. And whatever I'm doing, let's say I'm in the magnifier, if I press it, it brings me back to the desktop. Though if I press on it, it actually brings something called Google Assistant up. And you may...
Here is some information for, what is the Google Assistant called?
So you'll see the minute I start talking about Google Assistant, we have the assistant start talking, and it's very, very important. So that is really an important thing to know. What I'd like to do next is talk a little bit about messaging. The messaging app here is at the bottom. It's in blue. And when I tap it, you will see that I have all kinds of information and apps or text messages actually that I've done. Now, if I want to talk to somebody, you may want to know easier ways than typing. You may already know this, but when I tap to enter my message, there's a microphone. Do you see the microphone? If I tap the microphone, anything that I dictate will go into the message box. And usually it's very, very accurate, so you don't have to do a lot of text editing. Now, the keyboard is at the far right of the screen, so I'm going to hit the keyboard so that it stops recording. But you can notice anything I dictate will go into the message box, and usually it's very, very accurate, so you don't have to do a lot of text editing, not one mistake. So, many people who are hunting and pecking, as it used to be called, and trying to get the right letters in and making mistakes, don't have to worry about doing anything. You can even use a little emoji, as you see, the little happy face on the far right. So I can press that. And now I have actually put in an emoji also. So I did want to tell you ways that you can, now if I want to get rid of this whole thing, I just press on it and select all and backspace, and it's gone. Now, one thing and then I want to get all these emojis off. You see, I have the keyboard at the bottom. So another thing I wanted to tell you about, you've probably seen, are voice clips. Now, I prefer dictation because it just goes right in. It's so easy. I just press send. There's usually not that many mistakes. It's pretty easy to edit. But many people like to use, do you see this over here on the right? It's that's your voice clips. And the voice clip is different than dictation. Now remember, dictation is speech to text. That's what it's actually called. It's miraculous now. Everybody just uses it and nobody really thinks much of it. But it's miraculous to be able to even take things that are recorded on tape and have it converted to text. You realize how many years ago we used to have transcribers, and we still do, but how much human energy went into taking tapes, typing them, listening to them and typing them up. Now Amazon, they offer this for pennies. It costs nothing. So if you dictated a whole novel into your phone, you can upload it and it will be converted. You know, get it back to you maybe in an hour or so, maybe a half hour, and hardly any mistakes. It's just really sensational. So that to me is dictation, speech to text. And when it first came out, it was a revelation. It's old hat now to so many. Now these voice clips are different. This lets, let's say, a grandchild or a family member hear your voice. So when I hold it down, I start talking to it, and you can see at some point it says converting. So when you're finished, you notice it says it has a play. So when I press the play, it didn't get very much of what I said because I let up on it, but you heard a little bit. It normally would have, now I'm going to hit X because it didn't turn out well, but normally you could just hit the send button to accomplish this. So you've got to think of the situation. Many people these days, when they want to talk to a friend, they don't use the phone the same way. They could use a phone, but when you're on the phone, someone can interrupt or add their information. And so it's a very elegant solution, many have found, that they just talk into it. They tell what happened today, and they're able to tell the story without being interrupted, which, you know, it's pretty amazing how often we get interrupted when you think about it, when we're having a face-to-face or phone conversation. So people will record these and send. The other person will receive them and play. After they finish listening to the message, they will record their own response. It's a very, like texting, it's a much more controlled way of communicating than using the telephone, because things can actually, you never know how things are going to turn out in the telephone. When you're texting, you say, oh, I didn't really want to say that, so you can actually delete before you send. So these are all these wonderful things. Of course, you notice, and you probably have used, on the far right of this screen, you will see you can get into your pictures, or you could take a picture while you're texting. And there's a plus that lets you send a quick response or schedule something, get into your images, your calendar. It could be very complex. You can do almost everything in texting. So I wanted to tell you these ways of texting for the future. And now I wanted to, in the last moments of the class, I'm back here at the screen. I wanted to tell you a little bit about when you're using your browser and you found a really good article and you want to read it later offline, you can download it to your device and find it in a downloads folder. So as you see, I have Chrome. It's not even with the Google apps. It's just by itself. And let's say that I've just seen an article today that in France, the cases have gone up suddenly. So that's very, very important to know. So at this point, what we're going to do, all these ads are coming up, I'm sorry, is we go to this button that has 3 dots. See, I'm reading an article about France and I'm hitting the 3 dots. I'm in a site called Reuters World and Financial News. You'll notice I have all these icons here, but the share icon is really important if you ever want to print or share or add it somewhere. And when you do share, notice that I just wanted to show you what share does. It allows you to email, to copy the link to send to somebody. You can do a lot with article. But what I'm going to actually do is, do you see when I brought this menu up? What I actually did was I hit these three dots, which are always ubiquitous. They're at the top of every article. When I tap this, as you can see, a menu came. But wouldn't you know it? I just look at all the words in the menu. But at the top, there's this arrow that's the download icon. And so therefore, you've got to look at all the images and pictures too. So when I hit that, what I'll do is I'll hit this download. And you said, do you want to download this? And I will say download. So I have downloaded this to my device, but how can I find it? Well, go back to this button with the three dots. That means more, by the way, more than we can include on a screen. We have a hidden menu. It usually means more or menu. And just go to where it says downloads. Do you see that? When you tap downloads, there's the article. I just tap the article and it will allow me to bring the article up again and read it at my leisure. So I think that's really very, very important to know. And another thing, let's see, I was going to show you. The main thing is here that you were able to bring up an article and you're able to save it or send it to somebody else. And how do you do that? Well, to save it, you would hit this download button at the top, and to send it to someone else, you would hit share, and the share would let you copy the link. Now, there's one here I wanted to show you is print. Do you see the printer? A lot of people say, how do I print from my phone? That's a really good question. The word print isn't anywhere to be found usually, unless you go into another menu, and that menu is share. So if I was going to give you any equation, whether you're using an Android phone or even an iPhone, share equals print. So when I tap the print icon, it says select printer, paper size, and it even shows me French cases have gone up. Now, when I hit select printer at the top, do you see that? Select printer, what do I get? It actually found out my printer. It can actually just print to a phone. You don't even have to be necessarily on the same network when you print from a phone. It's just got to be a kind of printer that the phone will recognize. But look at this, save as PDF. Do you remember I told you about portable document format? So if I say save as PDF, it's a very exciting moment because, except unless you've gotten out of the phone, which I did. So if I say save as PDF, one copy, etc., paper size, etc., and it has actually created it, and you hit this PDF arrow, save as PDF, and now preparing preview. And as you can see, it's gotten in, and then you hit save at the bottom so you know where it's going to be, which is called internal storage. And the PDF of this is in internal storage on your phone. So it's very, very important to know, though, when you save documents as PDF, we were saving, what documents have we saved as PDFs today? Well, we scanned in a brand new piece of paper. It could be a contract or any kind of important thing you need to get to somebody. You use Drive to scan that in. That was really exciting. And I was so excited about it. I went to widgets and have a My Drive icon. So that's a scanner. So anytime I want to scan anything, it'll go right into my Drive. Now the Drive is in the cloud. And so you can access it at any time, but it's not in your phone. So unless you download it, this gives you a lot of flexibility because you have so much room in what they call the cloud. The cloud really isn't a cloud. It's just a giant computer with a giant hard drive. They call it a server, and it's just owned by Google. They give you a certain amount of space on their computer. So it could be in a warehouse somewhere in California. They've designated a space for you. So that's really, really important to know, and it's your space. So you upload that document or you scan it in. So that saves it. The minute you scan, it's a PDF. No one can monkey with it. And then the other thing we did with the PDF was we went to just an article and we saved as a PDF using the important menu, the 3 dots, which means more, or it can be used as a menu also. Many people call it menu now. It's very, very important. So all these procedures can be accessed in my handout if you talk to Chris over at Evoke Spark. And so I don't have every single item that I've talked about explained here in complete detail, but it should be enough to get you going, and there will be a handout to back it out if you want. Very, very fun to talk with you all today about the exciting moments of Android, and look forward to do it again in the future. Bye.
Thanks again, Liz.
Talk to you later.